The Battle of Gully Ravine was a World War I battle fought at Cape Helles on the Gallipoli Peninsula. By June 1915, all thoughts the Allies had of a swift, decisive victory over the Ottoman Empire had vanished. The preceding Third Battle of Krithia and the attack at Gully Ravine had limited objectives and had much in common with the trench warfare prevailing on the Western Front. Unlike previous Allied attacks at Helles, the Gully Ravine action was largely successful at achieving its objectives, though at a typically high cost in casualties. Prelude. The Third Battle of Krithia on the 4th of June had made some progress in the center of the line at Helles, but had failed on the left flank along Gully Spur and Gully Ravine, and on the right flank where the French contingent were confronted by a number of strong Ottoman redoubts on Kariv Spur. As a prelude to a new offensive, the commander at Helles, Lieutenant General Aylmer Hunter Weston, ordered separate limited attacks to advance the flanks. On the 21st of June, the French, with overwhelming artillery support, attacked two redoubts controlling the crest of Kariv Spur. Over 40,000 shells fell on the Ottoman 2nd Division defending this area. They succeeded in capturing Harigo Redoubt, but the second objective, the quadrilateral, was not captured until the 30th of June. Captain Kamal Bey, commanding the troops from the line of fire, was wounded and died the next day. The French suffered 2,500 casualties, but the Ottomans on the receiving end of the bombardment suffered 6,000. Remnants of the Ottoman 2nd Division were pulled back to the Asian side after this battle. This mine again was cause of much celebration for Allies who were at that point very anxious for any good news. General Gourad received congratulatory telegrams from London and Paris. Lord Kitchener, Admiral Roebuck, and General Hamilton. Colonel Gurdon was awarded with Legend Honour. On the 28th of June, a similar attack was planned for the left flank along Gully Spur, Gully Ravine and neighbouring Fir Tree Spur. The terrain around Gully Ravine was closer to the wild and rough terrain at Anzac Ove than to the ground elsewhere at Helles. The plan was for the British 29th Division and the 29th Indian Brigade to attack along Gully Spur and the ravine, while one newly arrived brigade on loan to the 29th Division, the 156th Brigade from the British 52nd Division, would attack along Fir Tree Spur. The battle, after 2 days of heavy bombardment, began at 10:45 a.m. on the 28th of June with a preliminary raid to capture the Boomerang Redoubt on Gully Spur. The general advance commenced shortly afterwards. The artillery fire on Gully Spur was overwhelming, and the 210th Gurkha Rifles and the 2nd Battalion of the Royal Fusiliers advanced rapidly a distance of half a mile to a point named Fusilier Bluff, which was to become the northernmost Allied position at Helles. In the ravine, the 1st Battalion, Border Regiment, did not advance as far as those troops on the spur, since Ottomans were somewhat sheltered from the deadly bombardment from the sea. The final position was fortified with rocks and boulders and became known as Border Barricade. On the right of the advance, along Fir Tree Spur, the battle did not go so well for the British. The inexperienced soldiers of the 156th Brigade lacked artillery support and were massacred by Ottoman machine guns and bayonet attacks. Despite the opposition, they were ordered to press the attack, and so the support and reserve lines were sent forward but made no progress. By the time the attack was halted, the brigade was at half strength, having suffered casualties of which 800 had been killed. Some battalions were so depleted they had to be merged into composite formations. When the rest of the 52nd Division landed, the commander, Major General Granville Egerton, was enraged at the manner in which his 156th Brigade had been sacrificed. the counter-attacks. Ottoman commanders were very concerned about this advance near the western coast of Gallipoli, which threatened to encircle the right wing. Gully Ravine became the scene of vicious and bloody fighting as the Ottomans commenced a series of counter-attacks on the night of 1–2 July. Two soldiers of the 1st Battalion, the Royal Inniskilling Fusiliers, Captain Gerald O'Sullivan and Corporal James Summers, were awarded the Victoria Cross for recapturing a trench taken by the Ottomans during a counter-attack. Fake Pasha, known for his bravery and aggressiveness, was put in charge of the right wing of the Ottoman at Sigandia. The Ottomans, with plentiful manpower in reserve but lacking any significant artillery and machine guns, made incessant counter-attacks culminating with the strongest on the 5th of July, but all were repulsed. Still, the control of the strategic hills overlooking Sigandia and Rcbutcher were denied to the Allies by massive Ottoman bayonet attacks. The Ottoman casualties for the period between the 28th of June and the 5th of July are estimated at between 14,000 and 16,000, 4 times the British losses. Where possible, the Ottoman dead were burned, but a truce to bury them was refused. The British believed the dead bodies were an effective barrier and that Ottoman soldiers were unwilling to attack across them. This was one of the few truly unvalorous and unmagnanimous acts committed by Allies which infuriated the Ottoman greatly. In the face of immense losses, Fake Pasha had stopped first the counterattack on the morning of the 30th of June. In spite of strong and direct urging from Lehman Pasha and pressure to continue the counterattack, he wanted to rest his badly decimated troops for a day. Hesitation of Fake Pasha unnerved Weber Pasha, who was in command of the front there. He contemplated pulling back behind the ever-strategic Al-Chitipa as a last resort. This would have given over complete victory to the Allies. He had to be strongly dissuaded by Lehman Pasha. Finally, the Ottoman 1st Division, led by Lieutenant Colonel Kaffatayar, commenced another counterattack at 1800 on the 2nd of July. Again, though they reached within 30 meters of the British trenches, the losses were unbearable. Men were melting away in front of rows of machine guns. Attack continued whole night. Eventually Fake Pasha ordered them to dig in and take defensive posture. Lehman Pasha immediately released him and assigned Mehmet Ali Pasha in his place. As soon as the 3 Division, which had just crossed the Narrows and arrived at the lines around midnight, Mehmet Ali Pasha ordered them to attack 3:45 a.m. Lehman Pasha agreed to delay the attack for 24 hours only after a Major Eggert on the staff of Mehmet Ali Pasha personally appealed to him. Meanwhile, the Allies had observed the preparation for the attack from the air and made their own preparations. On the 5th of July, the last major attack of this battle commenced, but met with a very strong wall of fire the Allies put up. The dead were mounting again in front of the British trenches. Mehmet Ali Pasha staff were of the opinion that the Allied advance was already halted and there was no need for these heavy losses. Mehmet Ali Pasha, in fear of a reaction from Lehman Pasha, who was in turn intimidated by Enver Pasha, hesitated. Again, Major Eggert intervened and Lehman Pasha yielded. Finally the slaughter was stopped. This was the bloodiest episode in the entire campaign. After the counter-attacks ceased, the front line stabilized and remained largely static for the rest of the Gallipoli campaign, although both sides engaged in a vigorous mining war around the ravine. At the Barbanullah, Hunter Weston had one final fling at Hells. Once the 2 remaining brigades of the 52nd Division had landed, he planned a new attack for the 12th of July in the center of the line east of the Krithia road and along the Barbanullah, where the Royal Naval Division had spent most of its time at Hells and suffered so badly during the Third Battle of Krithia. It was expected that due to heavy Ottoman losses, losses in the previous battle, morale would be low. The plan was for one brigade to attack in the morning and the other to attack in the afternoon so that the full weight of artillery support could be lent to each brigade. The 155th Brigade would attack at 7:35 am and the 157th at 4:50 pm. Bombardment began at 4:30 am from land, sea and air. 14 Allied planes participated in softening up the Ottoman defences, one of the first such combined actions in military history. Both attacks began well with the capture of the first Ottoman trench but descended into chaos and confusion as, in a repeat of the April and May Hell's battles, the troops advanced too far, lost contact and came under artillery and machine gun fire. The next morning confusion and panic resulted in a disorderly retreat which was eventually halted, but Western ordered the advance to resume, and sent the battered Royal Naval Division in again. The line was stabilized. By the end of the battle, 1/3 of the 52nd Division had become casualties. General Egerton was temporarily dismissed from his command of the division for protesting at the treatment of his troops. Aftermath. In late June, General Hunter Weston departed his command of the British 8th Corps, suffering some indeterminate ailment. This marked the end of Hell's as the main front at Gallipoli. The British attempted no more major offensives from the remainder of the campaign. Weber Passer, having lost Lehman Pass's confidence, was sent back to Germany. The fighting now concentrated along the Rcbutcher range and at a new landing at Souvla. In support of this new offensive in August, a diversionary attack was made at Hell's which resulted in heavy fighting around Krithia vineyard. Hell's was finally evacuated on the 8th of January 1916.